Mr. Ellison again. I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Mr. Ellison's Math Minute. Today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about decimals, okay? And we're going to talk about decimals, what decimals are. We're going to talk a little bit about place value, and then we're going to order some decimals from least to greatest, okay? Now, to go into what a decimal is just an integer. And an integer is a number on a number line. If you draw a number line from negative infinity all the way to positive infinity, with 0 being the center place value, an integer will fit anywhere on that number line, okay? Now, an important thing to remember about integers is that sometimes integers can be greater than 1, and sometimes integers can be less than 1, with a 0 being in the ones place. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about place value just a little bit with regards to integers. Now, the two numbers that we're going to deal with today are 1.75 and the number 0.25. Okay, now this little bitty dot that separates these two numbers, or this number from the other two numbers, is called the decimal. And decimal comes after the word deci, which means 10. So when we look at the numbers, we usually go in powers of 10. Now, 1.75, which means this is 1 3/4 if you turn it into a fraction. Now, we're going to look at this number right here on the left of the decimal, and that's a 1, and it is in the ones place. Now, when we travel across this little dot, this little decimal, we have a 7. Now, this 7 is in a special place called the tenths place, okay? Tenths place. And then our 5, if we travel 2 spaces behind the decimal, we are in the hundredths place, okay? Now, that we know our place values, I'm going to say this number again, how it should be said. And it would be 1.75 okay? Now, since we're dealing with the hundredths place, this number will be 75 over 100. Now this right here, this number is less than 1, because in our ones place there is a 0. Okay, which means it's going to be less than 1. It's going to be a fractional number. Now, the number that's in the tens place is a 2. And the number that's in the hundredths place is going to be a 5. So this number, when read mathematically, is going to be called 25/100ths. Okay? And it would be written like this mathematically. 25 over 100. Okay? 25/100ths. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our knowledge, the things that we just learned about place value and about decimals, and we're going to order some decimals from least to greatest, okay? Now, what we're going to do is, before we order any numbers, we're going to take a look at them, okay, the numbers we have. We have a 0.5, we have a 0.35, a 0.125, and a 0.27. Now, students in the past that I've had, they make the misconception by thinking that the more numbers you have behind the decimal, the larger the number is. But one thing I will tell you is that is a misconception, and it is not true. Okay? Now, whenever you're ordering decimals, the first number you want to look at, if it's a number that's less than 1, you want to look at, if it's a number that's less than 1, the first place value you want to look at is the tenths place, okay? Unless there's, of course, a 0, and then you move to the 100ths place. Or you keep moving places until you find a number that you can compare to see which numbers are larger than the others, or which ones are smaller than the others, okay? Now, since we're ordering from least to greatest, then we have all these numbers here. These 4 numbers are less than 1. So the place value that we're going to want to look at first is the tenths place, okay? Now we're going to look at the tenth. Now in the tenths place here, we have a 5. Now in the tenths place here, we have 3. And in the tenths place here, we have a 1. And in the tenths place here, we have 2. Now, from our knowledge of sequence and order as mathematically, we learned that in first grade and in kindergarten. We learned how to order numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it's going to be no different here. Now, our smallest number, since we're going from least to greatest, is going to be the number, going to be the integer where the number in the tenths place is a 1. So that's going to put us at 0.125. So right down here, we're going to do the order of numbers from least to greatest at the bottom. So we're going to do 0.125 because that is our smallest number in this sequence of numbers. Okay, it has 3 digits behind the decimal, and it looks like it's a bigger number, but really it's not. And in a later video, I'm going to show you guys why that's the case. But for this particular demonstration, we're just going to order them from least to greatest. Okay? Now, let's just keep going. So we've already canceled out that number, and it's already the least number, okay? Now, let's look for the next number that's just a little bit bigger than that one, okay? And in the tenths place, it's going to have a 2. So that gives us 0.27. So in our next number in the sequence is going to be 0.27 because in the tenths place, there's a 2. And in the tenths place here, there's a 1. And this number is just a little bit larger than that one, okay? So we have our second number in the sequence from least to greatest. Now let's go ahead and look at our third number from least to greatest. And the third number up on the rung on the totem pole for numbers is going to be a 3. Let's see if there's a 3 out here. There's a 0 point in the tenths place, a 3. So that's going to be our third number, 0.35. And now let's look at our last number. We have 4 numbers, and it's going to obviously be 0.5 because the 5 in the tenths place is the largest number out of all of these. So here we go. We have our numbers from least to greatest. Thank you so much for coming by and viewing my little video tutorial here on decimals and ordering them from least to greatest. I just want to remind you guys, math is not a bunch of jumbles of numbers. It's an adventure. Thank you all so much for coming out. Have a great day.